Week one of college football is officially in the books, and what a week it was. If that is any indication as to the season that is ahead, I just can't wait. And today, we need to talk about a game that occurred this weekend that I think really highlights one of the most beautiful things about the early portion of the college football season, the uncertainty to it all. Because USC went out there Saturday and demolished Rice, which makes the level of intrigue around their matchup this Saturday even greater, in my opinion, something we've got to break down. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, Y for yes, N for no. Were you excited as to how the Lincoln Riley era began for the USC Trojans? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification because I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it, and if you enjoyed this content, like and comment down below, as those interactions, though seemingly small, are truly massive to content creators such as myself. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And first and foremost, before we go any further, as I've said with the previous few teams I've reviewed, one thing we need to understand is this was a team in Rice that USC expects to beat. If USC shows up with their lunch pail and an inspired USC, they expect to run through Rice. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean Rice is going to lay down and give it to you. You're going to have to go and take it, and that's exactly what we saw from the Trojans this past Saturday. So let's start with what stood out to me. And first and foremost, we'll start with the offensive side of the ball, being that you have a five-star quarterback, so many intriguing offensive weapons, and let's be honest, Lincoln Riley at the helm kind of dictates that that's where we should start. Caleb Williams looked in command of the offense. It's game one, and that's something you love to see, especially with so much new around him. Yes, the scheme is the exact same thing he ran last year, but he has all new pieces around him except for a few guys. But clearly, it's not taking him much time at all to get acclimated because he had a really solid game on Saturday. There's really nothing you can take away from his performance. 19 of 22 for 249 yards and 2 touchdowns, not to mention the work he did on the ground. So Caleb had about as great of a debut for his 2022 sophomore season as you could have hoped to have. Outside of that, Raleek Brown is a player I've been so excited to see make his college debut since he was in high school. Raleek Brown is explosion in a bottle. When he gets the ball in his hands, he is an utter playmaker. He's someone who I know his usage was going to go through the roof as the season continues to progress, and rightfully so. Whenever you look at the weapons USC has at their disposal and you add in a Raleek Brown, it's going to be very difficult to stop this Trojans offense. The why is very simple. You have a mobile quarterback in Caleb Williams, you have very talented wide receivers, including the former Biletnikoff winner, Jordan Addison, and now you add in a running back that's just as deadly catching the ball out the backfield as he is in a traditional running back fashion, and the explosiveness, the playmaking ability he has keeps a defense on their heels at all times because you don't know what they're going to throw at you with Raleek Brown on the field. I think he fits what Lincoln Riley wants to do like a glove. And actually, if you look at the rushing breakdown for USC, it's kind of interesting because the Trojans rushed for well over 200 yards, but not one running back had over 50 yards. They spread the ball around to multiple individuals. A lot of dudes did some work for the Trojans, and it's going to be interesting to see how the running back room takes shape as the season progresses. I already talked about Raleek Brown, but Travis Dye was one of the best pickups I think USC got out the transfer portal. Getting in a guy that has starting ability and college football experience is a rarity within the transfer portal, something you never argue with. Defensively is where this gets really interesting, because in the first half of this game, Rice was able to find some success, but what stood out to me the most, no matter whether we're talking about offense or defense within this game, was the second half adjustments by USC's defense. Because in the first half alone, Rice was able to go for over 200 yards, but in the second half, they had less than 70 yards total. Those adjustments were compelling. It was so awesome to see Shane Lee have such a great game, a former member of the Alabama Crimson Tide who transferred to USC this offseason, someone who got a lot of really positive experience his freshman year when he started every game for the Crimson Tide. He played a really solid game and got a pick six to boot. I was really excited seeing him flourish in that defensive system. I'm going to continue watching USC's defense to see how they continue to progress. But Shane Lee is not the only member of that defense I've been talking about throughout this offseason. USC fans that have seen my content before, you'll know there's a name I've talked about both in videos and live streams that I have been really excited to see. And that's Eric Gentry, the 6'6" linebacker who transferred to USC from Arizona State. Arizona State is a bit of an enigma in college football right now. It was really hard to judge anything that happened there here recently because of all the chaos that surrounded that program, but still, Eric Gentry was a very bright spot amongst all the chaos. He finds his way to USC, and personally, I think he's a guy that could explode this year. He's got the ability to do a lot of different things in that defense, and I think Alex Grinch is going to look to utilize him to cover a lot of areas. I can't wait to see how it all looks. Now, the reason why I started off this video the way I did, talking about my favorite aspect of the early portion of the college football season is how much uncertainty there is because USC absolutely demolishing Rice paves the way for more uncertainty for USC's Week 2 matchup against in-conference opponent Stanford. Because Stanford went out there and laid waste to Colgate as well, in a game in which Stanford's running game looked good. Stanford's quarterback had a good game, and Stanford's defense was really able to limit Colgate. Now, like I started off this video, it's Colgate, a team that if Stanford shows up ready to work, they should beat. But Stanford performing at the level they did and USC performing at the level they did begs the question, how improved are these two teams? And the answer to that, instead of being something that's theoretical, is provided to us in Week 2 of the college football season. I can't wait. That is a game I am absolutely circling right now because it's something we've been talking about. This is going to be a game that's really big for the Pac-12 as well because the Pac didn't have the best opening weekend outside of a few teams, but nonetheless, this matchup right here, I think, is one that college football fans everywhere need to key in on because I am really excited for an early season conference matchup that provides so much uncertainty that will be answered. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking. I'll be doing a USC versus Stanford video later in the week, kind of going through the games again, seeing what I can't piece together and doing a quick preview, so I'd love to see you over there. That's it. See ya.